This is the Skip Bayless Show, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Shedeur. I have never seen anything in my almost 50 years of covering the National Football League like what the National Football League just did to Shedeur Sanders. Again, I first guessed all of this. I said before last college football season that Shedeur should go #1 overall, 1-2, or with Travis Hunter 2-1, depending on whether the team drafting first needed a quarterback. And obviously, Tennessee needs a quarterback. Tennessee made, I'm going to say it one last time, a monumental mistake taking Cam Ward over Shedeur Sanders. I'm dug in. I won't flinch on that one. Again, the great Mel Kiper, my guest last week on Skip 1-on-1, ranked Shedeur Sanders 5th overall on his big board and Cam Ward 6th. But now to the guts of this story. I believe the turning point, the flashpoint, the point of no return for Shedeur Sanders came when his father, Dion, did an interview on Dan Patrick's show at the Media Center on Radio Row during Super Bowl week, last Super Bowl week in New Orleans. This happened on February the 7th. Dan Patrick asked Dion if there were NFL teams he didn't want his son to play for. And Dion answered, and I quote, "There's a lot of teams I preferred he didn't play for." That's like saying, aren't there teams you don't want to watch that you just hit the clicker on? You're right. He's talking to Dan. There's teams I didn't want to play for, so why would I want my kids? Come on, man. I'm a dad. I'm a real dad that has a lot of information about the NFL. I know some folks who know some folks who know some folks in the NFL. And I know what's behind the curtain. So definitely I'm going to lead them in the right direction, said Dion of both of his sons to Dan Patrick on February the 7th in New Orleans before the Super Bowl. Now, of course, when it came to Shedeur, that certainly suggested that Dion would orchestrate where his quarterback son was drafted, would engineer it the way Archie Manning once navigated his son from the Chargers to the Giants by forcing a trade. I'm sure you remember. And I, for one, had absolutely no problem with Dion saying that publicly because his son is that valuable. And my first thought when I heard these comments from Dion was, well, Dion definitely wouldn't want a son drafted by a sorry franchise like the Cleveland Browns, where quarterbacks go to die. Now, Dion did tell Dan Patrick there would be no public criticism of teams. Dion said, and I quote, "I would meet with them behind closed doors. I would not call them out, put them on Front Street, talk about their organization because people work too hard for a guy like me ignorantly saying something wrong. I would meet with them privately and talk about my concerns so we can have an understanding," said Dion to Dan Patrick before the Super Bowl on February 7th. Dion said he'd already met with some teams. He wouldn't say how many or which. So his message was already being sent behind closed doors to various teams. And you want to know what a whole lot of teams were saying behind closed doors? They were saying F Dion and F his son. How dare him compare himself and his situation with his son to the first family of football, to the beloved Mannings, to Father Archie, to sons Peyton and Eli. How dare him? F that. At that point, it had become clear that Dion was even representing his sons, both Shedeur and Shiloh, as their agent. And the NFL was already saying, F that, F you, Dion. We don't do business that way in this league. So look, I'm pretty sure a whole lot of old school coaches in college and pro football, I'm pretty sure they resent Dion's coaching approach. Do you remember what Oregon's Dan Lanning said? This is 2 years ago after the Ducks crushed Colorado. He made a pointed comment saying that his team focuses on winning, not on getting social media clicks. Other coaches despise that seemingly everything Colorado does behind the scenes is videotaped and it is posted for all to see, which just happens to be the way of the world now for just about every 18 to 22-year-old, and that's who plays for Colorado. That's what college football and basketball and all sports are all about right here, right now. So Dan Lanning's obviously a white coach, but 2 years ago, you might remember Jay Norvell, Colorado State's black head coach, also took a shot at Dion. Jay Norvell said that Jay Norvell, does interviews when he does behind closed doors, indoors. He takes off his hat and his sunglasses as his mother taught him to do. What? You, Jay Norvell, took that shot at Deion Sanders for wearing a hat and sunglasses for inside interviews? So I'm pretty sure old school coaches and NFL execs of all colors resent the way Dion runs his program in Boulder because, man, Dion is bolder and bolder. He even has a DJ to hype his team in the pregame locker room and the halftime locker room. And, of course, he had Lil Wayne lead his team out of the tunnel onto the field for kickoff, and Dion's sideline is just packed with star athletes and legendary retired stars and rappers and entertainers. Games are events, they're happenings, they're college football Coachellas. After all, Dion the player was Neon Dion, prime time. Always leading the league in brash and in arrogant. But here was the thing about Dion, the football player. He always backed it up. Deion Sanders was the greatest cornerback ever, greatest all-around athlete I ever saw. Deion Sanders, I covered him, the Dallas Cowboys. He worked hard. He played hard. He backed it the F up. But so many coaches and so many NFL executives were not great football players, even good football players. Some of them didn't even play high school football. And they are threatened and they are resentful. And they are even flat out jealous of Dion's athletic stature. Their attitude is, yeah, you could get away with being Neon Dion on the football field, but you can't play that game on the sideline as a head football coach, even though Colorado did sell out every game and did become the hottest draw on national TV in this country. Yet I'm sure NFL execs and coaches seethe and they curse when they read or they hear that Dion will be the next great NFL coach. I'm sure that deep down they fear he will be, maybe even taking over their organization. So you can bet those NFL phone lines burned up after Dion made those comments to Dan Patrick back during Super Bowl week, February 7th. You can bet executives and head coaches and assistant coaches were calling their buddies and lots of other organizations saying, can you believe effing Deion Sanders says he's going to pull an Archie Manning? Now, look, I'm not saying this was official out-and-out collusion, secret memo collusion. No, this was just a whole lot of NFL people talking to a whole lot of other NFL people saying F Dion and F his son. No doubt a whole lot of them were thinking, we'll show Dion orchestrating. And a whole lot of NFL people began trying to nitpick Shedeur to smithereens, even fabricating a whole lot of phantom criticisms. Then came the combine. Then came Josina Anderson reporting that a quarterback coach for a team drafting in the top 7 found Shedeur to be undraftably brash and arrogant in his interview with that coach's staff at the combine. What? Yeah, Shedeur he's confident. Don't you want your face of the franchise quarterback to be confident? But he's also a really good kid who was raised the right way, who plays the right way, who's as physically tough a college quarterback as I've ever closely observed, who is deadly accurate and deadly late game clutch. What? Yeah, I got it. Shedeur, he made $3 million last year in Boulder, and so he did own 3 exotic cars, and he does occasionally drape himself in jewelry like a lot of kids do. But you don't think he can handle his money? He's had money his whole life. I would think that would be seen as a plus. If he gets some money in the NFL, I think he'll be just fine with it, don't you? FanDuel is giving all new customers a shot at $250 in bonus bets. $250. Just join FanDuel today, right now. You'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So from 3-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay. A same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Just visit FanDuel.com/skip to get in on all the NBA playoff action. That's FanDuel.com/skip for your shot at $250 in bonus bets. Now, I'll go with a 3-way parlay for Tuesday night's Clippers at Nuggets Game 5. You know, Big Zoo does a pretty good job neutralizing Joker's scoring, so I'll say Joker under 28.5 points. Though I won't be surprised if Joker has 20 rebounds and 20 assists. So that means I'll go with Jamal Murray scoring more than 20.5 points. And I'll finish it off, because he's been on fire, on a roll. I'll finish it off betting Kawhi scores more than 25.5 points. That's FanDuel.com/skip for your shot at $250 in bonus bets. So then Deion Sanders told me on my Skip One-on-One show that he did call the head coach of that team whose quarterback coach blasted Shedeur, and that the head coach told Dion, according to Dion, that Shedeur did not come across as brash and arrogant in their interview with him at the combine. But the damage was done. The demon seeds were planted. The phone lines were burning up around the league. I just hear it now. Shakes me to my bones. See, the kid's uncoachable. Like father, like son. Dion spoiled him rotten. No way you want this kid as the face of your franchise. Blah, 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 blah. The NFL that I've known for almost 50 years operates on sheep think. I've said this many times. So many people I've known I've gotten to know very well who ran or now still run drafts for teams are just not very smart. They're all Peter Principle products, not very perceptive. They're prone to hearing a little dirt and taking it right to heart. So many idiots running drafts out there. They just think like sheep. They run scared. They actually read and value all the mock drafts by people who know less than they know because they don't know. Shedeur was such an easy target because of the jealousy and the fear of his father. Who wanted to draft Shedeur, risk Dion eventually taking over the franchise, bringing in his own people, smarter than you and you and you and you. So every single NFL team convinced itself that drafting Shedeur was a bad idea. I even heard, quote unquote, he isn't the athlete his father is. What? Who is? But if you watch the way I watch Shedeur, you know Shedeur is no pocket statue that he can move. That he's as accurate rolling right or left as he is with his feet set in the pocket. That he ran for lots of big first downs on called quarterback draws, and running the read option to the edge. You'd know if you just watch the tape, this kid is a baller who plays bigger than his 6'1.5" and 212 pounds. What is not to love about Shedeur Sanders? Deion Sanders raised this young man to be a star NFL quarterback in a pro-style offense from the start. Surrounded him with greatness. His father isn't a detriment. He's a huge advantage. Shedeur has greatness flowing through his veins. What am I missing here? I had no idea, no earthly idea that starting Thursday night and then all through Friday night, the NFL was dead set on teaching Dion a lesson.